All right, welcome back to another episode of Psychopedia. I am your co-host, Hank Sinatra, here with my very concerned with clavicles co-host.
Investigator Slater. Get it?
No.
A minor.
Oh.
That was for you.
That was
You didn't get it, but it was for you.
Yeah, she's also overly concerned with clavicle.
I am.
Whatever.
I'm wearing an off-the-shoulder top, and I want to make sure my clavicles look good.
Can you train clavicles? Because I will start doing clavicles twice a week if it
Somebody out there let us know.
Yeah, sure. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Psychopedia podcast. We're excited. This is a fresh, brand new, hot, chew his hot plate episode. Paul Abdul's mother is an entertainer. Yes, what are you fucking... Oh, she hit her head on the mic.
I did.
Yeah, that
it's
was
ringing.
a good one. Oh, so for those of you who don't know, Step Brothers deleted scenes, maybe the 7 best minutes of comedy
Clutch.
ever to be cut out of a movie.
I don't know why they cut it out.
It's too much.
It's like an Easter egg. It's for the real fans to find at the end.
It was
like
too much.
If you made it this far type thing.
Yeah, bonus.
Yeah.
Bonus scenes.
So worth it.
Yeah.
Should we talk about how we're kind of matching today, which is like a weird coincidence?
Yeah.
That's lavender that you're wearing, right?
It's very light lavender, yes.
Yeah, I'm wearing legit lavender.
Yeah.
I didn't see what color your pants are, but
Full-blown lavender.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like weird. It's like, we're taking on each other's like habits a little bit.
Yeah, sure. I'm about to buy a pink spiky backpack for back to school for my older son so he gets bullied.
He would not get bullied. He'd be the coolest kid in his class.
He would never live it down.
Maybe not.
So.
Maybe do it in like red or black. My son has the same backpack in silver.
Your younger one?
Yeah, for school.
Thank God he can kick ass.
It's true. It's true.
That's why he's so into the combat sports.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, we're about to get into an episode. If this is your first time here, welcome. If this is your 100th time here, welcome back.
Freak.
If you're not subscribed yet on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, go do that. It helps us. It's a little self-serving of me to say that, but what are we doing here?
Well,
we want to.
It is and it isn't, because if you guys are able to help us,
Yeah.
give us more to work with, then we can create more content.
Yeah, the little things that listeners do, like share it with somebody, subscribe, write a review, leave a comment on YouTube, or leave a comment on Spotify. You guys, that is like more than enough.
Absolutely.
That really helps us a lot, get more people to listen so that we can, increase the size of this fucking freak family that we have here.
That we're obsessed with.
If you're really into it, go over to patreon.com/psychopedia, where you get so much stuff. I'm not even going to list it anymore. It's just, you got to go there. It's all listed on the site, patreon.com/psychopediapod. And for those who have already made that jump, I'm going to read off a couple of names because never not amazed with people's names. Fog-choked bitch.
Incredible. Jack the Ripper, what's up?
Very good. Valerie Moore.
Hi, Valerie.
Hello, Valerie. Want to suck a dick? One word.
You know what that's from, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to suck a dick.
No, it's from God, I want to suck a dick so bad.
Oh, yeah. No, you know what I just said? Because
What?
you've talked about it. We've talked about like your theory about politicians before.
Yeah.
And the first time you talked about it, the way I just said it is how you said it.
Oh, wait, what?
No, it was about your intrusive thoughts.
Yes, I thought I was gay when I was 16.
Exactly. And you're like, but I don't want to suck a dick. I thought
Well, you're going to have to. But I'm not attracted to men. I don't think that matters. Isn't that kind of the whole thing of being gay?
Well, that's
yeah, it's
what
pretty
it's from.
important. Yeah. So funny. We got a lot of moments.
Yeah.
Jenny Adams.
Hey, Jenny.
Hot bonnet. I know. Mark Waltenberg, which you said you didn't understand.
I don't. I know Mark Wahlberg, like I Heart Huckabees, maybe.
And you know Mark Walton. I was calling him Mark Waltenberg on that episode.
Genius name. So subtle, I missed it.
And this one is, it's the gold medal to this name. For when you hear it, you'll understand. Tony, the cackling, dim-witted asshole.
I love it.
You put a lot of thoughts together for that one and made it work.
We got one last night.
Oh, yeah, Not Your Average Midnight Blowy, which I sent to her, but she was about to send to me, too.
I had to delete it from my text because I was just about to hit send when it came through
Should've
from
sent
you.
it. Yeah,
I
yeah.
know.
Yeah, it would've been
Instead, I
fun.
deleted it and just told you I was about to send it.
Yeah, which I believe.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so without any further ado...
Nice.
Thank you. Why don't we just get into this week's case? Because I know nothing, as always.
All right.
You know everything, and I'd like to know what's going on.
Such a fascinating case, can I just say?
Yeah.
I don't even know how I came across this case. I have never heard it before.
Really?
On any true crime podcast or documentary, and I have my ear to the ground with true crime. Yeah. Haven't heard this.
Oh, shit, you have your ear up the ass.
I do. I really, really do. It's my happy place. This case is a little bit of like a slow burn.
Okay.
All right. So I'm just going to give you that kind of like heads up. You know what it reminds me of? The feeling I had when I was going through this case. Remember the first time you saw The Sixth Sense, the movie?
Yeah.
And you're going through it and you're entertained and it's interesting and, you're enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
But only at the end are you like, holy shit.
What was going on with movies back then?
That's phenomenal.
The Usual Suspects?
It stays with you.
Why don't they do that anymore?
I don't know. It's maybe not that easy to do. I would venture to say
it's incredibly difficult.
I was going to say, I'm sure people have tried it and we don't remember it because it sucked. But when I first learned about this case, I was kind of like going through it, reading. It was, like I said, interesting enough to keep my attention. Mm-hmm. Got to the end and I was like, wait a minute.
This case?
Yeah. Went back. I was like, we have to cover this.
Oh my God.
There was just something about it for me. I hope everybody feels the same way.
M. Night Shyamalan did such a good job with Sixth Sense that he kind of ruined his own movies from that point forward. Like when I saw Signs.
Yeah, I liked Signs.
Well, it was just aliens.
It wasn't.
It was aliens.
Well, no, yes, it was aliens.
I thought it was like something that I had never thought of or heard of before.
Oh, like a more creative.
Yeah, I was like it is
actually
aliens.
Just that weird, tall-looking extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's get into the case. I'm sorry.
Very good.
I'm just really bummed.
Go. Okay.
The anguish of a parent confronted with the knowledge that their child has been harmed, or worse, is a profound and visceral torment that defies easy articulation. It's a searing, primal pain that cuts to the very core of a parent's being, a blend of heartache, fury, and helplessness that is as consuming as it is debilitating. It both provokes and it paralyzes, causes psychological chaos and mental numbness. It ignites visceral pain and inflicts physical torment that leaves a deep, forever open wound on the soul. Learning that your child has been murdered and feeling in your core that it was a deliberate act of violence thrusts you into an agonizing confrontation with a reality that is both unbearable and disorienting. The instincts that once formed an impenetrable fortress around your child, shielding them from harm, have been ruthlessly dismantled. This breach is not just a personal tragedy, but a violation of nature's inherent order, where the fundamental role of a parent, which is to protect and nurture, has been grotesquely undermined.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot even begin to imagine. I know I'm speaking about it like sort of, God forbid, firsthand, but I cannot even begin to imagine what a parent's next steps are following something as horrific as the death of a child. So I can't tell you, as I said, what a parent's next steps are following something as horrific as this. But I can tell you what André Bamberski's next steps were.
Sick name.
I can tell you how he transformed his crushing heartbreak into a determined quest for justice, how he channeled his anguish into actionable resolve, how he went on a 3-decade odyssey, fueled by a relentless pursuit for accountability and his fierce drive to right the most egregious wrong, how he went from a heartbroken father to a formidable vigilante.
Wow.
This case reads like an international spy thriller with its web of locations, layers of intrigue, suspicious autopsy reports, forged documents, and whispers of a government cover-up, each twist more shocking than the last. Yet, at the heart of this case lies a simple yet profound story, a brokenhearted father forever bound by his duty to his daughter. This is the story of André Bamberski and his quest for vigilante vengeance. Dun, dun, dun.
André Bamberski?
Bamberski.
Bamberski? Bamberski side-eye.
Mr. Bamberski. Bamberski.
Bamberski?
Yeah.
Bamberski.
Bamberski. I struggle.
It's okay.
Bamberski.
Let's do that whole intro again. I'm just kidding.
I'm
Could be
sorry.
Bamberski. I mean, things.
Well, with our New York accent, it can be Bamberski.
Letters do be disappearing in Polish names sometimes. They just like get folded into the mix.
They do.
Yeah.
Much like a classic superhero saga weaves together the hero's journey with that of a rival villain, this case unfolds as a dual narrative. So to recount Andre's relentless pursuit is to simultaneously reveal the dark story of his near lifelong arch nemesis and eventual murderer of his daughter, Dieter Krombach. André and Dieter, though adversaries in a tragic lifelong saga, shared a profound connection initially forged in the horror of World War II. Both men grew up in the shadow of the war's devastation, though had different experiences with their early lives defined by brutality and loss, even though they were different. Dieter Paul Christian Krombach was born in 1935 in Dresden, a city located in eastern Germany near the border with Czech Republic. The son of a Nazi Wehrmacht officer, Dieter lived through the firebombing that destroyed much of his city, an ordeal that left deep scars and likely contributed to the complex and disturbed man that he went on to become. Growing up, Dieter was not only immersed firsthand in the brutal realities of conflict by way of his Nazi father, but he was also subjected to relentless propaganda and hatred everywhere he turned. His constant exposure to wartime atrocities and extremist rhetoric during his formative years likely left a lasting impact on his psyche, shaping his worldview and personal experiences.
Yeah.
Stress process theory suggests that war creates both eventful and ambient stressors, each capable of causing long-term harm to physical and mental health.
The Zone of Interest, the movie.
Okay. Don't know.
Ever heard of it?
No, come on.
I think it won the Oscar, but it was one of those movies like Banshees of Inisherin that I did not enjoy watching at all, but stuck with me. And it's basically about a Nazi, a high-ranking officer in the Nazi, whatever they're called, the SS, in their compound with the family right outside of a concentration camp. And these big walls. And the kid is like in his room playing with trucks, and then you hear screams and you hear gunshots. It's like, obviously that was the point of the movie. Like these people were affected by it that had nothing to do with it.
Either in the events themselves or the ambient stressors that come along with it, like what you just described.
Yes.
These traumatic experiences can compound over time, forming a chain of risk where one adversity leads to further hardships, amplifying the impact on an individual's well-being.
Yep.
So it's like being sort of victimized over and over and over again. Similarly, though, on the opposite side of the war was André. Born in France in 1937 to Polish Catholic parents. In September 1939, when Germany invaded Poland, André was separated from his parents, who stayed in France, while he was sent to live with his grandparents in the Polish region of Galicia, which had fallen under Nazi control.
Wait, he was sent to live there?
So it's a little unclear.
Yeah.
And it's not surprised that you picked up on the ambiguity of my delivery on that. It's a little unclear how or why he separated from his parents. We just know that he did. So his parents stayed in France and he wound up in a Polish region that was under Nazi control, living with his grandparents.
Wait, so the parents escaped Poland to France? Or
They were in, yes. I don't know if they stayed in France and André went to see his grandparents and then it fell under Nazi occupation and he never made it back to France.
That's the only thing.
That makes the most sense to me as well.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say it, obviously, unless I know for sure, and I don't know for sure.
Okay.
The upheaval of war and Nazi occupation shattered, obviously, many families, to say the least, and André's was no exception. He endured years of conflict and witnessed starvation, street fighting, and executions. It was only in 1945, with the help of the International Committee of the Red Cross, that André was reunited with his parents in Lille, France, after a long and traumatic separation.
Yeah.
The trauma of their parallel yet distinct childhoods became a profound shared burden that shaped the course of their futures. I'm talking about now André and Dieter, which ultimately collided in significant ways. For André, the specter of Nazism's corruption and inhumanity made it impossible for him to ever fully trust the government or any powers that be ever again. And this deep-seated mistrust went on to influence many of his later decisions, particularly in dealings with both government institutions and the legal system. As an adult, André became a certified accountant, while Dieter pursued a career as a doctor of internal medicine. Despite their tumultuous pasts, both men managed to establish stable and affluent lives in the 1960s. They each got married and had children, although Dieter had already been married once before this point. His first wife, Monica Hens, tragically died only at the age of 24 from a thrombosis of the basilar artery, which is a type of stroke, leaving him with their 2 children. Then, in 1974, the threads of Dieter and André's unique yet parallel lives wove together when both men happened to relocate their families to the sun-baked streets of Casablanca, Morocco.
Wow.
Yeah. Their children, Kalinka and Nicholas for André, and Diana and Boris for Dieter, attended the same international school, which marked the beginning of an unexpected intertwining of their daily lives in the vibrant port city of Casablanca.
What does an international school mean?
Families from all over the place
We're living in this
were
area.
living in this area in Casablanca. It was a heavily immigrated area.
Oh, okay.
And then this school was, I guess, a haven for children of all different backgrounds.
Yeah, see? Did everyone talk there like that?
Oh my God, I do that all the time when I'm talking about like that type of era.
Humphrey
Yeah,
Bogart.
see, you'll never get me, copper.
Is Humphrey Bogart the guy in that movie?
I think so.
Who knows?
Yet beneath the veneer of suburban tranquility, a scandalous drama was unfolding because Dieter Krombach, aka Dieter the Cheater, embarked on a clandestine extramarital affair with André's wife, Danielle. The affair was shrouded in secrecy, as is typically the case with affairs, but wound up coming to light in 1974 after André and his family left Morocco to resettle in the south of France in Pecbusque. This area was near Danielle's childhood home, by the way. So André and his family, Danielle, their kids, they moved there. During this time, Dieter and his family also moved away from Casablanca, oddly, but to Bavaria in southeast Germany.
Wait, so how did it come out?
I'm getting to that.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Now, you may be wondering how, when the families were no longer living on the same block, but were rather separated by 650 miles, did the affair suddenly come to light? Well, one day in 1975, Danielle suddenly announced to her husband, André, that she was going to accept a new job with a real estate office located in Nice, 350 miles to the east. She claimed that she'd be renting an apartment there during the weekdays since it was so far away and would return home to be with the family on weekends. Suspicion gnawed at André, which led him to follow Danielle one Sunday evening as she made her journey back to her alleged apartment in Nice to prepare for the work week, right?
Okay.
But instead of driving toward Nice, Danielle instead parked her car in the garage of an apartment building in Toulouse, 300 miles away. André asked the man at the concierge desk of the building if he knew that woman, pointing to Danielle.
Yeah.
And in response, the concierge replied, "Oh yes, that woman is Madame Krombach," as in Dieter Krombach.
Ooh.
The betrayal hit André like a ton of bricks and marked the beginning of a seismic shift in his life, a shift that would forever alter the trajectory of his entire family's existence.
And obviously, he knew Dieter at this point.
Yes,
It was
because-
not like that close with him, but definitely knew who he was.
Right, because their kids had all gone to the same
Yeah,
school.
yeah.
But
Okay.
that was the extent of it for him.
In his mind, yeah.
Right. The dissolution of André's marriage to Danielle was swift and bitter. By 1975, Danielle moved to Bavaria to officially be with Dieter, and the pair got married in 1977.
What happened to his family? André.
He got divorced. It's okay to ask questions because, like I said in the beginning, this is like an international spy thriller.
Yeah, yeah.
Like lots of locations, lots of names we're not
Okay.
familiar with. So the pair got married in 1977. Initially, Danielle relinquished custody of the children, Kalinka and Nicholas, to André, who raised them as a single father for years in France. But then in July 1980, André began to yearn for the familiar comforts of life back in Casablanca, which also happened to provide more affordable childcare. And now that he was essentially a single father, that was very important.
Yeah.
So he decided to relocate with the children so that he'd be raising them in Morocco, a move that André assumed was well within his legal rights. Unfortunately, he was mistaken, and what should have been a simple move towards a better life with his children wound up setting off a series of painful and consequential events. Because shortly after their departure from Morocco, Danielle lodged a complaint against André in a Toulouse court and sought custody of the children. Her claim included an accusation of what's called a non-presentation of children, alleging that André failed to present or make the children available for custody arrangements. Advised by his attorney to acquiesce to the court's demands, André wound up relinquishing custody of Kalinka and Nicholas to Danielle and Dieter in Lindau, Germany, before moving back to France. Okay. André agreed to see the children only during vacation periods, a heartbreaking concession that, frankly, I'm not quite sure I understand, because this decision seemed completely out of character for a man who, as you will come to see, was a relentless fighter, a man who did not back down when he believed something was fundamentally wrong, especially when it came to his children.
Wasn't he told by his attorney to
He was given legal advice to acquiesce, yes.
Yeah.
I still don't, you don't have to take the advice of your attorney.
Yeah, that was a little weird to me too.
Mm-hmm. The truth is I think he probably did fuck up whatever custody arrangement there was.
Yeah.
So maybe the penalty for that would have been seeing them less than just agreeing and getting to see them on vacations. So maybe I'm just answering my own, questions here.
Thanks for making me work for it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you did, because it actually makes sense now. By sending his children to live with Danielle and Dieter, André inadvertently marched them directly in what turned out to be a lion's den disguised as a kitten sanctuary. I came up with that one. I couldn't wait to drop it.
Wow.
A little proud. Because at 10:30 a.m. on Saturday, July 10th, 1982, 45-year-old André Bamberski received a life-altering phone call from his ex-wife, Danielle. He was informed that Kalinka, their beautiful 14-year-old daughter, was dead. André collapsed into his chair, consumed by a wave of numbing disbelief. Kalinka was a vibrant, athletic, healthy teenage girl without any medical issues to speak of. How could such a premature, tragic fate have befallen her? His voice cracked with desperation as he demanded answers from Danielle. But all she could do was relay the timeline of seemingly uneventful events that led up to Kalinka's death, along with Dieter, the doctor's professional opinion on the cause. So let's start now with an overview of the alleged timeline of events preceding Kalinka's death, as it was explained to André over the phone, as well as to the coroner who responded to the scene of her death. At around 5 o'clock on July 9th, after spending all day outside on Lake Constance, Kalinka returned home, tired, and as her stepfather and mother recalled, complaining about not feeling well. 2.5 hours later at 7:30 p.m., Kalinka, Nicholas, Danielle, and Dieter sat down for dinner. Following dinner, Kalinka went to bed early, but got up at about 10 p.m. for a glass of water. According to Dieter, she was still awake and reading in her downstairs bedroom until midnight when he finally asked her to turn off the light and go to sleep. The next morning, shortly before 10 a.m., 47-year-old Dieter, who was decked out in his equestrian gear for a morning horse ride through the nearby mountains, came downstairs to discover 14-year-old Kalinka's body lying on her bed on her right side, lifeless, already stiff with rigor mortis. Now, when officials came to the house to remove Kalinka's body, Dieter claimed that he attempted to revive Kalinka by injecting a central nervous system stimulant called Krombach directly into her heart, along with doses of 2 other stimulants, Navadagal and Isoptin, into her legs. Okay, so now he's saying he injected her 3 times. I also read that he claimed to have injected her with calcium as well. But later, when the autopsy was conducted, Dieter changed his story and indicated that he'd injected Kalinka with a different substance altogether. But whatever he did at 10 a.m. that morning, his efforts came far too late, as an autopsy conducted 2 days after Kalinka's death determined that her time of death was between 3 and 4 a.m.
Okay.
Now, in terms of Dr. Dieter Dick's professional opinion as to the cause of death,
Dr. Dieter Dick?
Yeah.
Why'd you call him that?
Because I don't like him.
Oh, okay.
And he's a doctor, and his name is Dieter.
A lot of D's.
Yeah.
Very reminiscent of the dark and deadly doomsday dong cult.
Oh, yeah. I can't believe you just remembered that.
But let's shorten it. Dr. Dick.
Dr. Dick it is.
No more Dieter for this guy.
Yeah, fuck him. So he had two theories. Theory number one, Kalinka succumbed to heat stroke from an overexposure to the sun the day before when she went windsurfing on Lake Constance. Now, I looked it up. On July 9th, 1982, the area around Lake Constance, which is a really, really beautiful, serene body of water, was notably hot, all right? It reached around 86 degrees Fahrenheit or 30 degrees Celsius for our international listeners.
It's fucking so hot out.
Well,
it's
no.
like 30 degrees.
But listen, by today's standards, that's not particularly hot, I don't think, and wouldn't necessarily be classified as a severe heat wave.
86 degrees?
Yeah.
No.
But in 1982, such a temperature was considered unusually high for that time of year.
Oh, okay. Time of year.
Exactly. And with prolonged exposure, high humidity, and physical exertion, it's technically possible, though highly unlikely, that a healthy 14-year-old girl could die a day later after spending the day in that weather.
Before you tell us the second thing,
Mm-hmm.
there is, being sober for as long as I am, I hear all kinds of different stories over the years. And a few years ago, I heard a story about some guy who was living in a house where they try and help people get clean and sober, get them back on their feet. This guy went out, picked up, did drugs, fell asleep on the beach. He was pale, red hair, almost died from the sun.
Oh, yeah.
Like that. And then I said to the guy who told me, I was like, the number of ways you can die from this thing is just infinite. Really?
Yeah. And didn't you say, too, when somebody dies of alcoholism, the death certificate never attributes it to alcohol? It's whatever that reason was.
Only
So if
in
it was
cirrhosis of the liver.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I also have a crazy statistic that I needed to make into a pop quiz.
Okay.
So pop quiz.
Okay.
In 2003, Europe experienced an extreme heat wave that led to around how many heat-related deaths? A, 15,000, B, 45,000, C, 70,000.
C.
Yes. Yes.
I know you too well.
I know.
You did a little thing with your eye.
Shit, I was just thinking I need to cover my face or wear sunglasses when I do the pop quizzes, because I definitely have a tell. In 2003, Europe experienced an extreme heat wave that led to around 70,000 heat-related deaths.
That's crazy.
With particularly high mortality rates in France as well as in southern Germany.
Well, France, they have no AC there. I know they didn't have it back then. But also, by the way, did you know
Probably
hot
not.
showers were not commonplace until the 1980s?
What?
Yeah.
People live like animals before then?
No, cold water or a bath with like
understand.
boiling water. Yeah. I'm not saying there was none. Like the idea was brought forth in the 1920s or so.
Okay.
But it wasn't like everywhere has hot water running until that time. Isn't that fucking crazy?
What was the time again? The 80s?
1980s.
So we were born?
Yeah, into hot shower land. We were born into the nook of hot showers.
A wild-ass piece of knowledge you got there, Tank.
Yeah. Also, no Novocaine.
What else you got? This is blowing my mind.
Yeah, like ask your parents about going to the dentist when they were
Well,
young.
they had gas, right?
No,
What?
no, it was just raw dogging dental procedures.
Whiskey is what it was
I don't know.
for...
It was not good.
No.
Very
Didn't sound
bad.
it.
Even with Novocaine, I'd be screaming in there.
My mouth hurts.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was theory number one
Okay.
from Dr. Dick,
Okay.
that she sadly passed away from heat exposure. Theory number two,
Dictor Duck.
Dr. Dick suggested that Kalinka's sudden death might have been a delayed reaction to a concussion she sustained in a car accident in Morocco 8 years earlier in 1974.
That was Dr. Dick's bright idea.
Yeah, who gave him a fucking medical license? Typically, concussions have acute effects and are expected to resolve within weeks to months with appropriate treatment.
Yeah.
Now, I do have to say, in rare cases, long-term complications can arise.
Oh, for sure.
While this theory seemed unlikely, it carried weight simply because it was being put forth by a respectable medical doctor who also happened to be the victim's stepfather, which led many people, including Danielle, to accept it as fact.
I am a fucking medical doctor.
I'm a learned doctor. But not everyone accepted Dr. Dick's assertions as gospel.
Okay, very
because
good.
André could smell the bullshit from across the channel in France.
Nice.
And for the next 3 decades, he made it his life's mission to bring to light what he knew in his gut to have been the cause of his daughter's death. And that was homicide at the hands of the man who first stole his wife and now his daughter. And André's paternal intuition was spot on. First of all, it turned out that the highly esteemed physician, wife stealer, and child killer had a bit of a murky past. As I mentioned earlier, Dr. Dick had been married once before to a woman named Monica Hentz, who was said to have died prematurely at 24 of a stroke.
Oh.
Remember that?
Yes. Okay.
Now-
Okay, got it. So Dr. Dieter didn't get divorced. His wife was already gone by that point.
Yeah.
So he was just out there as a single dad stealing wives. You stole my girl. That is from Slackers.
Okay.
Jason Schwartzman. One of his greatest roles of all time.
One of them, not the. Now, Dr. Dick married Monica, his first wife, when she was just 18 years old and he was 28. He for sure had a certain appetite for much younger women, which becomes painfully clear as you will come to learn. But in terms of Monica's tragic story, well, according to a statement provided to German police by Monica's mother following her death, Dr. Dick, who had just graduated with honors from the University of Frankfurt as a doctor of internal medicine, had absolutely terrorized Monica. He physically beat her and kept her in a psychological chokehold by constantly threatening to kill her. According to Monica's brother, Mikhail, Dieter used to administer several types of injections to Monica at home, including, quote, iron and vitamins. Very vague.
Yeah.
Then in 1969, Monica came down with a mysterious illness that suddenly rendered her mute, blind, and fully paralyzed. According to Monica's mother, as Monica lay paralyzed and defenseless in the hospital following the onset of this bizarre illness, Dr. Dick elbowed aside the attending physician at a Frankfurt hospital and administered an injection of what he identified as being snake venom. Then, hours later, Monica died of a cerebral hemorrhage.
Wait. And nobody was like, they might be related, these things?
So, listen, keep listening.
Okay.
No definitive connection was ever made between the injection and Monica's death. In fact, as per reports, some doctors ruled that the 24-year-old's untimely death had simply been the result of either taking too high of a dose of birth control pills or taking one particular kind for too long. She was only 24 years old, so how long could she have been taking these pills? And she had been pregnant twice already. They had 2 children.
Yeah.
But because of these prevailing theories, Dr. Dick was never so much as questioned in connection with Monica's death, which, by the way, it's a real shame that nobody made the connection between Dr. Dick and Monica's
They didn't
death.
even try.
Not just for Monica's sake, of course, but also because Dr. Dick went on to put his knowledge of pharmacological substances and hypodermic needles to further nefarious use on multiple unsuspecting, innocent young women and girls, including Kalinka.
Really? So this was his thing.
This was his thing. Which brings us back to present times in the case, okay? Because I brought you back to his first marriage and what happened there.
Okay.
Present times in this case, Kalinka's death. Let's talk about her autopsy report, which André finally received in October 1982, 3 months after his daughter's death following constant requests.
Is that late?
Yes. The examination was conducted by a local forensic physician named Dr. Homan, along with the Lindau police superintendent, the local prosecutor, and guess who?
Dr. Dick.
Dr. fucking Dick. This breach of standard protocol immediately raised André's suspicions and set his spidey tingles off like a pyromaniac with a fresh pack of fireworks. In terms of the autopsy findings, Dr. Homan documented finding blood on Kalinka's vagina, along with a vicious white greenish substance inside.
Did you mean to say viscous?
Yes.
And man, that substance is a vicious dog. That shit looks angry as hell.
I'm not even embarrassed
Who
anymore.
cares? Yeah.
I'm just not. I roll with it.
I was opening up a meeting the other day. I could not speak to save my life. Just trying to get through the opening.
Did you think of me struggling through these episodes?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But then nobody could talk.
Oh,
It was so funny. Yeah, like spread
contagious.
around.
I'd feel better if you fucked up every now and again.
I do.
No, you don't.
Oh, I do.
Okay, so listen. That substance was found inside of her. He also noted fresh puncture marks on her right upper arm, right leg, and thorax, which is the chest. Additionally,
Oh, from the things that he said he administered?
right.
Okay.
Additionally, there was undigested food in Kalinka's stomach and food particles in her lungs and esophagus. According to the official report, which differed from what Dr. Dick initially told the responding coroner at the scene, Dr. Dick claimed that he had given Kalinka an injection of cobalt, which is an iron supplement, before dinner on Friday evening. He first stated that this was to enhance her tan, okay? A bizarre rationale that he later changed and then went on to say, I gave her cobalt to treat her anemia. Meanwhile, Kalinka was not anemic.
And is cobalt even a thing?
It is a thing, yes. He then later admitted that he'd also given Kalinka a sleeping pill when she was still up at midnight on the night/morning of her death, and that upon finding her dead, he had injected her with dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter that increases heart rate, and Dilaudid, which is a narcotic.
Dilaudid.
Fuck.
Yeah. I only know that because I'm a drug addict.
Okay. And I feel better for not knowing.
And I snorted it once and couldn't sleep and thought I was going to die. One of the worst nights of my life.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I snorted Ritalin and Dilaudid.
Oh, my goodness.
And I was up watching MTV and I was trying to flex in the mirror and my muscles weren't working. It was like, oh, fucking hell.
Wow.
That went on for like 8 hours.
Oh, Tang. Oh, I'm sorry that you went through that.
I was like,
Oh.
yeah.
But at least you know how to pronounce things.
Yeah,
Silver lining.
sure.
If you recall, when Kalinka's body was being removed from the home by the authorities, Dr. Dick indicated that he'd injected her with Coramin, Novodigol, isopitin, and calcium. Okay?
Mhm.
Inconsistent information. That's my point.
Yeah, and inconsistent pronunciation.
I know.
That's okay.
I know.
We can't win them all.
I don't
Those
know.
are confusing words. I'll never forget when I learned that semaglutide was pronounced semaglutide.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gasped when I told you that the first
I
time.
remember.
You were
And yeah, that's what happens when I'm like
semaglutide.
shocked to my
Okay.
core.
Yeah.
Inconsistent information is being presented, right?
Sure,
That
yeah,
which
for
was
sure.
found during the autopsy that he was present at versus the information he provided to the coroner at the time when he arrived at the scene of the death. Yet it was the missing information from the autopsy report that raised serious suspicions for André.
Missing information from the autopsy report that
report.
Dr. Dick had.
The only autopsy report, yes, Dr. Dick was present, but now
Oh.
André, remember André requested for 3 months straight over and over and
I
over
thought
again.
there was two different autopsy reports. for
There was
some
one.
reason.
The
Okay,
inconsistent information was from what he verbally said happened
got it.
when the coroner arrived at the death
Mhm.
versus what was discovered during the autopsy. So now André has the autopsy in his hand 3 months later,
Mhm.
but it's what was missing that caught his eye, right? Because crucial toxicology tests that should have been conducted on blood and tissue samples allegedly collected during the autopsy were never done.
Okay.
Furthermore, no effort had been made to determine whether or not Kalinka's vagina had been penetrated. Instead, the report vaguely listed the cause of death as unknown, with Dr. Homan even stating that a definitive judgment would only be possible after forensic scientists had tested the blood and tissue specimens, tests that he never ordered. Not only was this absolutely atypical of a medical examiner, but typically, whenever possible and practical, at least 2 different specimens from the same case in an autopsy are analyzed to substantiate toxicological findings. In this case, not even one was done.
Yeah.
Also, typically during a potential death by homicide, all of the following specimens are recommended for analysis: blood, urine, vitreous humor, which is eyeball fluid, gastric contents, bile, liver, and hair.
Okay.
So off the bat, we can see that this case was not being treated as a potential homicide.
No. Isn't it crazy that, like, again, up until like the time we had hot showers, basically, you died. They were just like,
if there was no glaring
Yeah.
who did it, you
Yeah.
know, no like smoking gun, it was definitely a lot harder. Yeah.
Damn, he is dead though.
I mean, it was like
how.
it was that Sherlock Holmes detective work, you know? So reading this now 3-month-old report from a hasty, half-assed autopsy, André was left grappling with a flood of very serious questions.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, why the actual fuck was Dr. Dick present during the autopsy? Secondly, why hadn't he mentioned this supposed tan enhancement injection earlier?
Mm-hmm.
To that end, why the changing stories concerning what he actually injected? Thirdly, were the toxicology tests just omitted from the postmortem exam report, or were they never done? Fourthly, what was this whitish-green substance found inside Kalinka's vagina, and how did it get there? And fifthly, how could her cause of death have occurred between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. if the ME discovered undigested food in her stomach? Food typically stays in the stomach for about 2 to 4 hours as it's broken down into a semi-liquid form called chyme. The last time that Kalinka had eaten was at dinner the night before, which was 7:30 p.m., meaning her time of death could not have been between 3 and 4 a.m. To address all of the reasonable questions that André had, he desperately tried in vain to get his daughter's case reopened. In a letter to a German prosecutor named Schnabel, André demanded proper forensic tests on the tissue that was removed from his daughter's body and called for a re-examination of the possibility of sexual assault. This prosecutor, who took his sweet-ass time replying, eventually informed the bereaved father that he saw no reason to reanalyze the evidence. Furthermore, he also informed André of the following. Pop quiz. What did the prosecutor indicate to André? A, that Kalinka's genitals had been removed post-mortem. B, that the lab, which was now named the Dr. Dieter Paul Christian Krombach Laboratory, did not retain samples beyond 14 days after an autopsy. C, that the autopsy had actually been conducted by an inexperienced intern and not Dr. Homan, as the report suggested.
B.
No.
Very good, though.
Thank you.
C.
Nope.
Okay. Well, must be the other one then.
Be the worst one on there. Her genitals were removed post-mortem. So André attempted to ask his ex-wife Danielle for clarification on all of these questions he had.
Hey, Danielle, what the fuck?
Yeah.
In general?
Right. All she said to him was that she'd get back to him, and she never did. André said to Danielle.
They were her kids too, right?
Yes. This was her daughter. André said to Danielle, Kalinka died with you. Your husband is a doctor. Now, 3 months later, neither of you are interested in the cause of her death? And to that, Danielle's chilling response to André was, and this is a quote, Kalinka died because it was her time to die. An incredulous André was baffled by the lack of alarm over the possibility / likelihood of foul play and the shoddy autopsy that was conducted. He became even more perplexed when he discovered that Lindau Police Commissioner, Commissioner Gabeth, had only spoken to Dr. Dick once on the day after Kalinka's death, and that conversation had been conducted over the phone. And it was during this call when Dr. Dick changed his story about what he injected and why. And remarkably, this explanation seemed to satisfy the police commissioner, and the case was officially closed, concluding that there was no foul play involved in Kalinka's death. So the man who was the last person to see Kalinka alive, the first to discover her dead, and the only one to have administered a series of dangerous substances to treat an ever-changing array of made-up symptoms, walked free. But André harbored no doubt that Dr. Dick raped and then killed 14-year-old Kalinka using some type of lethal injection.
Yeah.
So let's talk Vigilante action plan.
Okay.
André immediately consulted with 2 forensic doctors in Toulouse, France, who both concurred that there were many, many red flags in Kalinka's autopsy report. First of all, the report's references to Kalinka's torn genitals and the mysterious fluid resembling semen were obviously deeply troubling. To that end, they found it negligent at best, possibly criminal at worst, that they never examined Kalinka's hymen to see whether it was still intact, nor did they send out her blood and tissue samples for a toxicology report. Following this lack of analysis originally, but now this reanalysis,
Yeah.
André then hired a Parisian lawyer named Francois Gibault, who contacted the local German prosecutor to order, through proper legal channels, further testing. So, in February and March of 1983, a man named Wolfgang Spann, who was a forensic scientist at the Medical Legal Institute of Munich, reanalyzed tissue samples, and he determined that cobalt had indeed been injected.
Okay.
He noted that if given without proper oversight, especially after a meal, cobalt could cause nausea, fever, vomiting, and in severe cases, respiratory failure or cardiac arrest.
Resulting in death.
Yes. The presence of food particles in Kalinka's lungs and esophagus suggests that this is exactly what happened,
Yeah.
that she had likely gone into anaphylactic shock shortly after receiving the injection, lost consciousness, and suffocated on her own vomit. Spann also determined that Dr. Dick had misled authorities about the timing of the injection, as the absence of an immune response in the surrounding tissue indicated that her death had been almost immediate, which we knew anyway given the undigested food found in her stomach.
Mm-hmm.
So now the timeline of the autopsy is fucked.
Yeah.
Wolfgang Spann remained inconclusive about whether rape had occurred, but said that he could not rule it out.
Yeah.
In the end, Wolfgang Spann determined that, quote, the intravenous injection of cobalt had probably led to the death of Kalinka Bamberski, meaning Kalinka was murdered by her stepfather. At this stage, André, who had a general distrust of authorities, like I mentioned in the very beginning of the case, and also it's just confirmed because the German authorities are not cooperating with him when he wants the case reopened. He's requesting documents. They're dragging their feet. They won't reopen the case. I understand his distrust of authorities. He decided to take matters directly into his competent hands by doing which of the following things?
Pop quiz.
A, running for political office in Germany, where he still had citizenship to gain a leg up on all things law and order. B, attended Oktoberfest in Germany and distributed thousands of flyers publicly calling out and condemning Dr. Dick. C, wrote a book titled My Daughter's Killer Roams Free, detailing the case and his relentless pursuit of justice, aiming to garner public sympathy and support.
Oh, okay. So he wrote a book, went to Oktoberfest, passed out flyers, or ran for office. I believe this man wrote a book.
No.
Pretty good. Very good.
Thank you.
I believe that he went to Oktoberfest.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he did. On September 30th, 1983, André went to Lindau during Oktoberfest and distributed 5,000 leaflets, letting the townspeople know that in their midst was a criminal doctor.
Okay.
The leaflet included Dr. Dick's name, address, and stated that he raped and killed André's daughter
God.
and that he was being protected by powerful local figures.
Yeah.
Because there had been rumors in the past that Dr. Dick was involved in the diplomatic service and that he had worked as a secret agent in Morocco.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes. Anyway, after 2 hours of distributing the flyer at Oktoberfest, the police came and arrested André, who was then sued by Dr. Dick for defamation. André lost and was required to pay Dr. Dick 500,000 German marks, which he never did.
Yeah, good.
Boom. André was also threatened with imprisonment if he ever did anything like this again. But guess what? He did it again.
Now I'm getting 10,000 flyers.
Exactly. Instead of backing down, he took the phone book from Lindau and mailed the leaflet from his home in France to everyone in the phone book.
Wow.
Fucking boss. Then, in 1984, André's attorney decided to file a complaint against Dr. Dick in the Paris courts. And eventually, in 1985, 3.5 years after Kalinka's death, German authorities finally replied to André's numerous attempts to have his daughter's remains exhumed, along with her detached genitals, which were presumably buried together in France so that they could be re-examined and forensically tested properly.
Yeah.
And so, Kalinka's body and detached sex organs were exhumed. However, in a horrifying and shocking twist, after exhuming this poor child's mutilated body, they discovered that her genitals were gone, like completely missing.
Yeah, I thought they were missing.
They were missing, but they were not buried with her. It's one thing that they were like detached, maybe, presumably, I don't know, something weird to further examine.
Oh, no, I
But
didn't
when
think
she
that
was
at
buried,
all.
they were completely missing. He was under the impression that all of her remains would be buried.
Oh, no, I didn't think that at all.
But this meant that a crucial piece of evidence was forever lost, and the question of whether Dr. Dick had raped Kalinka before her death could never be determined with certainty. And still, in spite of this horrific injustice and fuck-up, right, because the genitals were missing,
Yeah.
the German authorities still refused to reopen the case.
Yeah.
But-
I need some relief here.
Listen,
Yeah.
André refused to give up. Now, you may be wondering, how was it even possible for André to keep going legally when German authorities had decidedly refused to cooperate?
Yeah.
Well, since Kalinka had been a French citizen, French authorities were able to launch their own murder investigation on German soil if the evidence was deemed sufficient,
Good.
at which point they could indeed issue an international warrant for Dr. Dick's arrest.
Okay.
At this point, German authorities did comply with the request from French prosecutors to send lung, heart, skin, and other tissue samples from Kalinka's body to the Institute of Legal Medicine in Paris for analysis. Because the first two, one done by the original medical examiner and the second one that was analyzed in Munich by Wolfgang Spann, had all been done in Germany, where André believed Dr. Dick had some kind of diplomatic immunity.
Yeah. I mean, how, but probably.
Right. These tissue samples, which had been sliced into thin sections and preserved in paraffin and chloroform since her death, were now examined by 3 French pathologists. Although test tubes containing her blood had inexplicably been discarded, the remaining material led to the pathologists to ascertain that there was a conclusion, like in their minds, a for sure conclusion.
Okay.
The exact cause of Kalinka's death was not so certain to them, but they for sure concluded that the manner had been, quote, brutal.
Really?
Yep. And unlike in Germany, their findings were sufficient to convince the French judiciary of Dr. Dick's culpability.
Okay.
Thus, on April 8th, 1993, the prosecutor general in France charged Dr. Dick, who was still in Germany, with voluntary homicide, a crime punishable by up to 30 years in prison. The indictment stated, quote, "The elements taken together led to the conclusion that Dr. Dick gave Kalinka a mortal injection, not with a curative purpose, but with the intention of killing her." The prosecutor requested that German authorities arrest Dr. Dick, but again, they refused. So, listen to this. This is interesting. On March 9th, 1955, in what amounted to only a symbolic victory for André.
Wait, you said 1955.
Fuck, I did. Okay. Thank you. So, and listen to this because this is interesting. On March 9th, 1995, in what amounted to only a symbolic victory for André, Dr. Dick was convicted of murder in absentia by the Cour d'Assises in Paris and sentenced to 15 years in prison. So in absentia means that the trial and conviction occurred without Dr. Dick being physically present or in custody, which meant that he continued to remain free for all intents and purposes and continued living his best life.
What?
Yeah. They just symbolically found him guilty in France, but they couldn't arrest him at this point.
And he can't go to France, obviously.
Right.
Okay.
Dr. Dick was still residing by Lake Constance, and he was maintaining and thriving in life. He had his medical practice. He had a bustling social life. He was an active member of an equestrian club. He had a yacht. He was living it up.
Good for you, Dr. Dick.
His marriage, however, with Danielle did wind up falling apart after she unsurprisingly discovered his affairs with a series of different, very young mistresses. After his divorce, Dieter wound up getting married 2 more times to 2 other women who were both a decade younger than him. Shockingly / not, both of those marriages ended in divorce due to his ongoing infidelities.
Say, Dieter, I hear you like him young.
Yeah, see?
No, you better not ever go to cell block 1.
I don't know what that is.
Say, Drake, I hear you like him young.
Oh.
Minor.
Oh, and I am someone who said that in the beginning.
I know.
Meanwhile, Dr. Dick continued to evade the consequences of his heinous actions committed against a 14-year-old child in his home nearly now 2 decades earlier. And André had nothing really left to go on at this point.
Yeah, 20 years.
Until, that is, something happened. Pop quiz. What happened? A, André obtained his law degree in Germany and transferred the entire legal case against Dr. Dick onto German soil.
André obtained his law degree in Germany and transferred the case. Okay.
Danielle, now free of Dr. Dick's influence, produced damning evidence against her now ex-husband and joined forces with André to bring him down.
Okay.
C, Dr. Dick sexually assaulted a girl, which reignited André's fire and caused him to continue building a profile against his arch nemesis.
B.
No.
Damn. That would have been sick.
I know.
C.
Yes. This fuck.
Can't stop.
On the afternoon of February 11th, 1997, a 16-year-old girl named Laura Stale visited Dr. Dick's clinic in Lindau for an endoscopy. After administering an anesthetic that knocked the girl out, Dr. Dick mounted her completely naked and raped her.
What a fucking loser.
I mean...
Dude, you're... Hold on. I have to... Yeah. Because we brush by these things, and it's just like, oh yeah, a bad guy did a bad thing.
Like, no, it's a horrible piece of the puzzle.
But just imagine, what... I struggle, I guess, which is good, to understand the state of mind that you'd be in to have a person come in for a procedure as it on grounds of a medical relationship.
Yeah.
Put her under and then have sex with her?
Rape her. Yeah, he's a predator.
Yeah,
he's a fucking predator. You can't...
No, I don't mean I guess, but I'm trying to I'm trying to understand and I can't, but he is just a predator. Literal predator.
Right. We will try to understand him because we talk about the psychology of this shithead and momentarily here, but...
And like you said, these people tend to put themselves in situations where they can do...
Exactly right, where they have this type of access.
Yeah.
So the girl woke up sooner than Dr. Dick expected and therefore witnessed her own attack, reported it, and landed Dr. Dick in jail.
Thank God.
Which is where he belonged for the last 2 decades.
Yeah.
On the evening of Dr. Dick's arrest, a reporter contacted André to inform him about this incident. And André saw this as an opportunity, a window reopening for him to renew his legal pursuit against Dieter.
Mm-hmm.
So André quit his job and moved to Germany. The devotion of this father, unmatched. Now, Dr. Dick lost his medical license, obviously, and was locked up for 2 years after being found guilty of sexually assaulting his 16-year-old patient.
Well, this guy, his wife left him for this man, and this man killed his daughter.
Yeah, that's what I said. First he stole his wife, then he stole his daughter. And during his incarceration, André, during Dieter's incarceration, André hired a team of private detectives and built a network of connections around Lake Constance to be ready to take Dr. Dick down upon his release from jail. Once released, everywhere Dr. Dick went in his now nomadic lifestyle, because he kept moving around, André followed, carefully documenting each change of address and every movement he made. But for a time, there wasn't anything that gave André cause to make any kind of move, legal or otherwise, which was a problem. But the other shoe always drops with these fuckers.
Yeah.
And it did in 2006 when a woman in Rodenthal, Germany, noticed strange behavior from her physician and reported it to the police.
Who was her physician?
Exactly. But by the time the police responded, Dr. Dick disappeared. The woman then conducted her own internet search on this strange doctor and discovered his connection to André, because André was all over the web at this point, posting, sharing his...
What year is this now?
Early 2000s.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So she discovered Dr. Dick's connection to André, okay, given that he had this long time vocal hunt for him.
Yeah.
André, who had been keeping very close tabs on Dr. Dick, informed the woman of where he was living, which was a small apartment in the village of Scheidegg, So the woman passed this information along to the police, who, incredibly and rightfully, arrested him for practicing medicine without a license.
Okay.
As law enforcement continued to investigate this man they had in custody, they learned that between 2001 and 2006, Dr. Dick had secretly and illegally worked as a substitute physician at 28 different clinics and hospitals across Germany, despite no longer having a medical license, which he lost after sexually assaulting a child.
Yeah.
Now, 2 psychiatrists at the University of Munich's hospital examined Dr. Dick before his trial for fraud and practicing medicine without a license. And they concluded that he was a chronic liar, a sexual predator, and a narcissist with delusions of grandeur, believing himself above the law. Dr. Dick admitted to numerous affairs, including drugging and sexually assaulting the 16-year-old girl years prior. He exhibited repression, denial, and a compulsive tendency to molest patients and coworkers. The psychiatrist warned that he would likely reoffend if unsupervised in a medical setting.
Of course, yeah.
After a brief trial, Dr. Dick was sentenced to 2 years and 4 months in prison.
2 years?
Yeah. Following his eventual release from that, Dr. Dick made immediate plans to move to South Africa, likely to continue practicing medicine and assaulting young women beneath the radar.
He only got 2 years and 4 months because it was just for practicing medicine without a license, right?
Correct.
Okay.
When André received a phone call from an immigrant from Kosovo named Anton, who referred to Dr. Dick as being Kalinka's murderer and said that he had a proposition for André,
Really?
André was all ears. Anton told him, quote, "I can help you move him. I can be involved in transporting him to France."
Get him on that French border.
But who was Anton?
Yeah, who the
And
fuck's this
how
guy?
did he learn of André's desperation to get Dr. Dick to France by any means necessary? While tracking Dr. Dick in Austria, André mentioned to a private detective that he wanted Dr. Dick kidnapped and brought to France. Anton, a mercenary, got wind of this and offered to do the job for 20,000 euros, claiming it was merely to cover expenses as he wanted to help for humanitarian reasons. A few days later, André and Anton scouted Dr. Dick's apartment in Scheidig, southern Germany. Anton then advised André to return to France and await a call.
Okay.
1 week later, at 10 p.m. on October 17th, 2009. Remember, Kalinka was murdered in 1982. André received a call from a woman, likely Anton's accomplice, instructing him to prepare to go to Mulhouse, a town in France near the German border. 5 hours later, the woman called back, confirming, quote, "Krombach is in Mulhouse. He is at Rue de Tellule, across from customs. Warn the police." And so André did just that. 20 minutes later, at 4 a.m., the officer called André back and said, quote, "We found him, and he's in bad shape. Because behind an iron gate in a dingy courtyard between 2 four-story buildings in Mulhouse, Dieter Krombach lie on the ground, tied to a fence and hypothermic."
By Anton.
Yes.
Okay.
His hands and feet were bound, he was bleeding, and his mouth was gagged. But the motherfucker, after evading accountability for murdering a 14-year-old child for 3 decades.
And assaulting countless women along the way.
Yes, sir, was finally caught and on French soil. Obviously, unfortunately, André was also placed under arrest and interrogated for 2 days and nights on suspicion of kidnapping.
Sometimes you got to commit a crime.
Wait till you hear what he says.
Yeah.
Ready? He was released on bail, placed under judicial control, and forced to surrender his passport. Anton Krasinski, by the way, who engineered the abduction, was sentenced to 1 year in jail, followed by legal supervision.
Okay.
Now,
Probation?
yeah,
Okay.
exactly right. Dr. Dick's attorneys, of course, demanded that their client be released from custody and returned to his home in Germany. But French authorities reinstated the charges against him and ordered him remanded to prison in Paris to await trial for the murder of André's only daughter, Kalinka Bamberski. On the morning of October 4th, 2011, at the Palais de Justice in El de la Cité.
French people listening right now
I'm sorry.
are punching their walls.
Well, I'm trying to do a good job.
They're crushing their croissants in their hand.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry. That's all I can say, but I'm trying.
Croissant.
76-year-old Dieter Krombach was finally brought to trial in front of 3 black-robed magistrates, including the president of the court, which I believe means chief judge, as well as a 9-member jury, 2 sets of legal teams, and dozens of members of the French and German press. In the high-ceilinged courtroom, as Dr. Dick sat behind bulletproof glass, his attorney, Yves Lovano, asked the court, "Can we take vengeance ourselves?" Yeah. In this case, we can.
Yeah, you had to.
Following that, which was essentially the opening statement, the court heard testimony from the French and German toxicologists and pharmacologists who examined Kalinka's tissue samples, the doctors who conducted the 1995 exhumation of her remains, and 5 French medical professors who each carried out a complementary forensic examination in 2010. And it was determined, after analyzing Kalinka's lung and heart tissue using methods that did not exist in the 1980s, benzodiazepine? Nope.
Benzodiazepine?
Yeah. Thank you. A powerful anesthetic was injected into her body on the night of her death. At trial, 3 other German victims of Dr. Dick all described how they, too, had been anesthetized by Dr. Dick prior to being raped. It was therefore determined, finally, that Kalinka's assault at the time of her death was indeed sexual in nature, meaning she was raped.
Yeah.
And Kalinka wasn't the only one in that household being drugged.
No.
Because apparently during his marriage to Kalinka's mother, Danielle, Dr. Dick would drug her at night so that he could carry on sexual affairs with younger women in the downstairs of their home.
Well, he was doing that to Monica too, right? Drugging her?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Additionally, for more than a decade, he administered intravenous anesthetics to a series of women in his medical examination room, where he then raped them as they lie unconscious. Prosecutors compared this case to that of Nazi Klaus Barbie, known as the Butcher of Lyon, who was infamous not only for his brutal tactics, but also for evading the law when it came time to pay for the price of his deplorable war crimes. Is it Lyon or Lyon? I said it right. I have to say it again then because it's going to bother me.
Okay.
Prosecutors compared this case to that of Nazi Klaus Barbie, known as the Butcher of Lyon, who was infamous not only for his brutal tactics, but also for evading the law when it came time to pay the price for his deplorable war crimes.
Can you explain to me why you said the word Barbie in there somewhere?
Dr. Klaus Barbie?
His last name is Barbie?
Yeah. That's why I said it.
Barbie?
Yes.
Get the fuck out of here.
I'm not kidding.
Nazi Barbie?
Nazi Barbie.
Never saw that one on shelves.
The trial concluded at 3 p.m. on Saturday, October 22nd, and by 7 o'clock that evening, Dr. Dick was declared guilty of voluntary violence leading to unintentional death with aggravated circumstances. He received a 15-year sentence and will almost certainly die behind bars.
Yeah.
André Bamberski received a 1-year suspended sentence for his involvement in Dr. Dick's kidnapping. Now, at the time, when faced with the very real possibility of a lengthy prison sentence, André simply stated that he was willing to accept time in prison as the cost of delivering Dieter to trial. He said, and this is amazing, quote, "I don't regret the kidnapping. Something had to be done. You know the expression? I made the omelet, but it was also necessary to break the eggs."
And he said that in France, and they like that shit.
Oui, oui.
They love omelets.
André continues to visit Kalinka's grave behind the Catholic church where she's buried several times a month to bring her flowers. Kalinka, which is the name of a beautiful pink flower with green edges that grows in the forests of Poland, was and continues to be a cherished daughter frozen in time at 14 years old. During one visit following the trial, André bent down near the marble slab marking Kalinka's final resting place and spoke a few words to his daughter, dead now for nearly 30 years.
Yeah.
He said, quote, Kalinka, you see, I promised that I would give you justice. Now you can rest in peace. And that's the case.
Wow, what a dad.
I mean, this case, this dad,
Yeah.
it blows my mind.
I'm very happy you were into this case, but I didn't like that you weren't laughing at things I said.
I honestly,
much.
I'm always in these cases.
Sometimes I can knock you out of it, though. You
Right.
were unshakable this time, which was great,
Well,
but also
it was
hurt my feelings.
I'm so sorry. You are so funny. The best part is that when we revisit this on Patreon,
Oh, yeah.
I will get to really enjoy all of your comedic levity, which I know is always in abundance. And it's always appreciated, even if I'm not laughing. It's just this case, man. This case gripped me. It had me in a chokehold.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And this has never been covered before by anybody that you know of?
No, I'm not saying it's never been covered. I'm sure it has. I just haven't heard it.
Yeah.
I think there is a Netflix documentary about it. And I've obviously read loads of articles at this point and seen André on interviews, but I have never heard this case covered on a podcast. Again, it doesn't mean it hasn't. I just haven't heard it.
Yeah.
I could not wait to cover this one. It's so complex, and the challenge for me was deciding what to include and what not to include, as it always is.
Yeah.
But there were so many locations and nuanced information, I feel.
Yeah.
Like in terms of what he did and when he did it, André. And to follow him, following Dr. Dick, absolutely mind-blowing case.
Yeah.
And Kalinka, man, she really had a dad that loved her.
It's the father of the century.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I hope she can rest in peace now.
I hope so, too.
On that note, do you have for us a Tank's titty?
Oh, my God. Okay. So you're going to love this one. Get ready.
I'm ready.
I was talking with this guy, and I was, he's a very buttoned up, well put together guy. And I was picking his brain about being a good person,
Yeah.
And he said he was obedient to the principles, right?
Okay.
So apply that to whatever you want. The gym, work, relationships, whatever. And I always there's this word surrender, right? That a lot of people have a hard time with when they're trying to get sober. Surrender's like, never surrender, never give up. And it's like, well, surrendering's not that simple. Surrender means to give up and join the winning side, not just to give up. So, but the word obedient, I've always had a hard time with because I'm like, what am I, a fucking dog?
Mm-hmm.
I'm obedient. Last night, it occurred to me, that would be amazing if I was a dog.
This is your titty?
Yeah.
I didn't see this coming.
Who's got a better life than a dog? Why do they have a great life? Because they're obedient.
Because the decisions are made for them.
Exactly.
All they have to do is follow it. And if you trust the person making those decisions, like the dog's beloved, mom or dad, then what can be greater than having everything decided for you?
Yeah.
The challenge is making the right decision over and over and over and over again, right?
But being obedient is, again, something that I saw as kind of like, nah, man, I'm a rebel.
I'm a free thinker.
Yeah, I'm a free thinker. Well, you can be a free thinker and still be obedient to the inner voice that tells you the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about something as small as, donating a large sum of money somewhere. If you feel called to do that, when I feel called, I almost always do it because I'm like, if I can.
Yeah, sure.
I'm being called to do this for some reason, all the way down to seeing a fucking something so small like a grain of rice on the floor in the kitchen and picking it up and not waiting for someone else to pick it up. You know what I mean? Like, just do it.
Yeah.
When I lived alone, I was never neater because I knew nobody else was going to pick anything up.
Right. Yeah, I always leave stuff on the steps, hopeful someone's going to know to take it upstairs.
Yeah.
They never do.
No. But being obedient to the principles of, like I said, whatever you're trying to do, whether you're trying to save money, lose weight, make money, have a good, relationship.
I mean, that goes hand in hand with discipline, which you talked about last episode.
Yeah. Obedience
Yeah.
is a word that I had a tough time with until I realized that I would love to be like a dog.
Woof.
Yeah. Amen, sister.
Sit. Oh, you already are. Good boy.
I just throw myself on the floor.
Very good, Tank. I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, not that you're not already, but Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Thank you
Yes.
out there. If you made it this far, you're a real one. There was a lot happening.
3 fucking decades.
And it really intensified towards the end with that guy Anton fucking sticking his head in.
Everything.
Yeah. And the mother finally coming out and being like, yeah, he was drugging me too.
Yep, crazy shit, man. But thank you so much for listening, everybody.
Thank you for doing all the hard work.
Always a pleasure.
We will see you guys at the next episode.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.